Imagine an emperor, the most powerful man in the world, commanding armies, possessing unimaginable wealth, holding absolute authority. Now picture this same man alone at night, quietly writing a note to himself. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That man was Marcus Aurelius, and he understood something almost no one does today. True power isn't out there, it's within. Now think for a moment. What if you've been searching for power in the wrong place? We live in an age obsessed with control. We want to control our image, our future, our relationships, even what others think of us. But the more we try to hold on to the world with both hands, the more it slips through our fingers, leaving us with anxiety, frustration, and endless comparisons. Sound familiar? Maybe that's because we've forgotten what the ancient Stoics knew. The only empire worth ruling is your own mind. In this video, you're going to discover 15 Stoic rules, not vague advice but principles tested for thousands of years, that can transform chaos into clarity, reactivity into presence, and weakness into strength. This isn't about looking powerful. It's about becoming unshakable. Are you ready to start building that kind of power? Picture the scene: ancient Athens, buzzing with life right after the era of Socrates and Plato. Markets alive with chatter, philosophical debates echoing in the squares. And in the middle of it all, a man named Zeno of Citium. He wasn't born a philosopher. He was a Phoenician merchant who, after losing everything in a shipwreck, wandered into a bookstore. There, he read about Socrates, and something sparked inside him. He never returned to the sea. Instead, he began a different kind of journey, into the most dangerous waters of all, the human mind. And that's how Stoicism was born. Not inside temples, but under the painted columns of the Stoa, where Zeno taught that to live well is to live according to reason, nature, and virtue. But the story didn't end there. Centuries later, a slave named Epictetus, who couldn't even control his own body, taught thousands that true freedom begins when you stop fighting what you cannot control. Around the same time, Seneca, one of the most powerful men in the Roman Empire, wrote letters about serenity, while living surrounded by political betrayal, conspiracies, and constant death threats. And at the very top of the power hierarchy, Marcus Aurelius, emperor of emperors, would write by candlelight during military campaigns, reflecting on life's shortness, duty, and the art of staying uncorrupted. These men, so different from one another, had one thing in common. They faced external chaos with unshakable inner strength. They didn't just talk about philosophy, they lived it. And even after 2,000 years, their teachings are still alive, not in dusty libraries but in the journals of Olympic athletes, in the minds of soldiers on the battlefield, in the offices of therapists, and maybe, right now, in you. Have you ever wondered why some people face chaos with calm, while others collapse at the smallest frustration? The answer lies in 4 virtues. 4 pillars that supported warriors, emperors, slaves, and that can still support you today. Keycap 1: wisdom, and it starts with a simple distinction. What is up to me? What is not? Everything changes when you understand this. Your mind stops fighting the wind and starts adjusting the sails. Keycap 2: courage, not the kind that shouts or slays dragons, but the kind that does the right thing when no one is watching. Courage is getting out of bed on hard days. It's keeping your word even when it's uncomfortable. Keycap 3: justice, the forgotten virtue. The Stoics believed that living with virtue means living in harmony with others, treating every person with dignity, even when they don't return the favor. And that takes real strength. Keycap 4: temperance, the art of knowing when to say enough, resisting excess, impulse, and addiction. In a world obsessed with more, the Stoic lives for what truly matters. These 4 virtues are the foundation. But there's a daily tool the Stoics used, almost like a map of the soul. The dichotomy of control. They divided the world into 2 parts. What I can control, my actions, my thoughts, my values. What I can't control, other people's opinions, death, time, the past. Simple, but revolutionary. And when the uncontrollable knocks at your door, illness, loss, injustice, the Stoics practiced their most radical idea, Amor Fati. Not just accepting fate but loving it, even the hard parts, even the unexpected. Because, as Epictetus said, what happens to you was prepared for you, stitched into the fabric of the universe itself. This philosophy doesn't ask you to run from life. It asks you to embrace all of it, and still smile. You're stuck in traffic, late for work. Your boss sends you a sharp message. Your phone keeps buzzing with demands. Someone cuts in front of you in line for coffee. Just another ordinary Tuesday. And you feel it, the urge to explode, to yell, to run away. But what if, right now, you could choose not to react? Not out of apathy, but out of choice. Because a Stoic doesn't bow to chaos, he walks through it with clarity. For the Stoics, adversity wasn't an obstacle, it was a training ground. Marcus Aurelius led armies through snow and plague, writing, "The inner fire burns brighter when faced with wind and storm." Pain, mistakes, the unexpected, all raw materials for shaping an unbreakable character. But this doesn't happen by luck. It comes from mental discipline. Imagine treating every thought like a visitor at your door. Does this serve me? Does it make me stronger? Does it bring me closer to virtue? If not, the door stays closed. That's how you become untouchable in the face of criticism, humiliation, or failure. Because nothing from the outside can shake a center that's been trained from within. And along the way, you start to see how much is just noise, appearances, other people's expectations. That's where philosophical minimalism comes in. Letting go doesn't mean living with less. It means living with exactly what matters. The Stoics didn't collect things, followers, or distractions. They collected presence, clarity, and principles. They knew. What disturbs you is rarely reality itself. It's your attachment to what you think you need from it. In today's world, where we're taught to want everything, the Stoic asks, what can I let go of to live better? Have you ever given your best at work, done everything right only to get no recognition? Not even a thank you, just more pressure, more deadlines, more demands? The Stoics would say, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Modern life teaches us that value comes from results, promotions, likes, applause. But Stoicism flips that upside down. True merit lies in effort, ethics, and intention. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote, "Do not expect others to recognize your virtue. Just live by it." In other words, do the right thing and let go of the applause. And what about relationships? Have you ever tried to explain something obvious to someone and they just didn't get it? Or they reacted with anger, judgment, or impulsiveness? Epictetus reminds us, people don't act against you. They act according to what they know. When we practice justice, empathy, and patience, we realize not every behavior deserves a reaction. It's not worth hurting yourself over someone still struggling with their own ignorance. Virtue isn't about winning arguments, it's about keeping your peace. And that brings us to one of the biggest struggles of our generation, mental well-being. We live in times of chronic anxiety, endless comparison, and emotional exhaustion. And Stoicism, in all its simplicity, offers an antidote. Accept what you cannot control. Act with excellence on what you can. This shift in focus doesn't eliminate pain, but it eliminates unnecessary suffering. Because when you stop fighting reality, you begin, for the first time, to live with it. You felt pain, but you realized that what really broke you wasn't the pain itself, it was what you thought about it. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago. To them, physical pain, loss, grief, rejection, these are all part of life. No one escapes them. But inner suffering, that's a choice. You can lose something and rebel against it. You can be betrayed and destroy yourself from within. Or, you can accept it, breathe, and act wisely. As Epictetus said, it's not events that disturb us, but the judgments we make about them. Life will bring whatever it wants. The only question is, how will you respond? And here's the deep dilemma. Are we free, or are we trapped by fate? Imagine this, your flight is canceled. You miss a big opportunity. Someone leaves you. You can't control any of that, but you can control how you respond. That's where the Stoic finds freedom. Not in changing the world, but in standing firm when the world changes. In the face of loss and challenges, many people think Stoics are cold, like they suppress emotions. That's a mistake. The Stoics didn't say don't feel. They said feel, but don't become a slave to your feelings. Anger, fear, sadness, they all have their place. But reason must be in control. It's like driving a carriage. Emotions are the horses. Reason holds the reins. If you let go of the reins, the carriage crashes. If you pull too hard, the horses freeze. But if you guide them with balance, you move forward. True strength isn't denying what you feel. It's understanding, accepting, and still acting with virtue. Now, imagine waking up in the morning, opening a notebook, and writing. But not just anything. Writing down what you did wrong yesterday, what you intend to do right today, what you've learned, and what you need to improve. This ancient practice has a name: Stoic journaling. Marcus Aurelius did this every day, even as Emperor of Rome. He didn't write to impress the world, but to remind himself how to be a better man. Writing is a mirror. It's where you stop running from yourself, where the world's noise fades and only the essentials remain: what you did, what you feel, who you want to be. And before heading into the day, the Stoics recommended another practice, one that might seem strange at first. They called it negative visualization. Close your eyes and imagine losing what you love most. Imagine being fired, getting sick, ending up alone, not as punishment, but as preparation. By doing this, you build emotional resilience, and at the same time, a fierce gratitude for what you still have. Because when you face loss in your mind, the present stops feeling ordinary. It becomes sacred. And there's one reminder the Stoics carried like a whisper in their ear: Memento Mori, remember you will die. It's not pessimism, it's clarity. Seneca wrote, "It's not that we have too little time, but that we waste so much of it." When you live aware of death, you stop postponing life. You say, "I love you today." You finish the project today. You forgive today. Because you understand, tomorrow was never promised. Imagine losing everything: your freedom, your belongings, your future. That was the life of Epictetus. He was born a slave. He couldn't choose where to live, what to eat, or what to do with his own body. One day his master broke his leg, leaving him with that pain for life. But Epictetus discovered that no one could chain his mind. He taught, "You can imprison me, beat me, take everything from me, but you cannot force me to lose my peace." Seneca, one of the most powerful men in Rome, also faced failure. He was exiled, accused of conspiracy, and forced to take his own life. Yet, until his final breath, he wrote about virtue and serenity. And Marcus Aurelius? While Rome crumbled under wars and plagues, while those around him chased power and luxury, he wrote to himself words like, "You were born to cooperate, not to complain. To act, not to play the victim." These men didn't live easy lives. They simply chose not to be victims of them. And you might think, okay, but that was 2,000 years ago. What about today? Today you see Olympic athletes using Stoicism to stay focused under world-class pressure. You see investors losing millions, yet staying calm because they've trained their minds to accept loss as part of the game. You see leaders facing impossible decisions, using philosophy as an anchor to avoid drowning in chaos. But here's the thing. Many people get Stoicism wrong. Some think being Stoic means being cold, distant, and hard, as if they're emotionless robots. Others use Stoicism as an excuse to disconnect from life, pretending they don't care, when really they're running from the responsibility of living with courage and compassion. Being Stoic isn't about being indifferent. It's about being deeply human and still not letting your emotions control you. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine everything you have been taken from you. Your freedom, your home, your social status. You're thrown to the lowest position possible, a slave. That was Epictetus' reality, but he discovered something that no one could steal: his inner freedom. He said that what hurts us isn't the facts, it's the judgments we make about them. You can be offended and choose not to be offended. You can be rejected and still feel whole. You can lose everything and still remain complete. That is true freedom. No one can touch what you govern inside yourself. Seneca, on the other hand, was born into luxury. He had wealth, influence, and power, but he knew the danger that came with it. He wrote letters saying there's nothing wrong with having possessions, as long as they don't possess you. Seneca believed the problem wasn't having wealth, but becoming a slave to it. The secret? Moderation and purpose. Using everything you have, time, money, talent, as tools to serve something greater than yourself. Virtue. And at the top of this journey stands Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, commanding armies, making decisions that affected millions of lives. But what did he do when the external battles quieted down? He wrote, not for the people, not for the Senate, but for himself. His meditations were never meant to be a book. They were a private journal. Personal words, written to remind himself not to be corrupted, not to lose himself, not to forget that even as emperor he was still just a man, trying to do the right thing one day at a time. These three men lived in completely different worlds. but they all reached the same conclusion. True power isn't in what you have or in what you control. It's in who you choose to become. Imagine starting your day like a true emperor. Not in luxury but in the silence of your own mind. The Stoics had a daily ritual. Before stepping out into the world, they prepared their minds. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning. He would sit down, take a deep breath, and write something like, "Today I will meet ungrateful, arrogant, jealous, and selfish people, but I will not be surprised. And even so, I will act with justice, patience, and kindness." Have you ever tried starting your day like that? Not hoping everything will go perfectly, but preparing yourself for when it doesn't. Not to complain, but to ask yourself, how can I act with virtue no matter what happens? And when the day ended, while most people drowned in distractions, the Stoics did the opposite. They paused and reviewed every step they had taken. Seneca said no one should go to sleep without reflecting on their day. To ask, did I do my best today? Where did I fall short? What can I improve tomorrow? This simple habit turns mistakes into lessons, and lessons into growth. And between those two moments, morning and night, there's another practice just as powerful yet invisible, the practice of gratitude. The Stoics knew the human mind has a bad habit of focusing on what's missing. So they trained themselves to notice what was already there. A smile you received, a task you completed, a quiet moment you experienced. They didn't wait for big achievements to feel gratitude. They understood that just being alive today is already a victory. Have you noticed how easy it is to understand an idea, but how hard it is to actually live it? How many times have you told yourself, "This time I'll change. Starting tomorrow I'll do it. Now I'm ready." And yet, nothing really changes. The Stoics knew the greatest danger in philosophy isn't not understanding it, it's understanding it but not living it. Because real transformation doesn't start with big decisions. It starts with small choices. Waking up 10 minutes earlier. Spending an entire day without complaining. Stopping the habit of comparing yourself to people you don't even know. It sounds small, but that's how self-discipline is built. Not in epic milestones, but in daily micro-victories. And when you think you're already on the right track, comes the second part, self-evaluation. The Stoics recommended looking at yourself every week and asking, what am I doing that a wise person wouldn't do? Be honest, are you being guided by virtue or vanity? By purpose or laziness? By courage or fear of disappointing others? And finally, remember, philosophy isn't a pretty idea to write in a notebook or post online. It's a way of living. Every gesture, every word, every choice, everything you do either brings you closer to what you claim to believe or takes you further away. So next time you catch yourself saying, "I already know this," ask yourself, but am I actually living it? Have you ever stopped to ask who's really in control, you or your impulses? The Stoics didn't believe in change without practice. That's why they created daily challenges, small battles that seemed insignificant to the world, but transformed everything from within. Here's your first challenge. Sounds simple, but it will reveal how much you're ruled by your reactions. Try to go an entire day practicing inner silence. No complaining. No over-explaining. No reacting on autopilot. Someone annoys you? Silence. Something goes wrong? Silence. Feel the urge to react burning inside you, and don't. Observe how your mind tries to control you all the time. Next, try the detachment challenge. Pick something you believe you can't live without. Your phone, social media, coffee, the comfort of your bed, and spend 24 hours away from it. You'll experience firsthand what the Stoics used to say. You are only free from what you can live without. And finally, the hardest of all, the forgiveness challenge. Maybe there's someone in your life who still takes up space in your mind, not because of love, but because of resentment. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's not agreeing. It's simply setting yourself free. Set yourself free today. Not for them, but because you don't deserve to carry that weight for one more minute. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself standing in the middle of chaos. The pressure keeps coming. People keep testing you. The world hasn't changed, but you have. You're centered, calm, firm, unshakable. That's what the 15 Stoic rules give you. Not a perfect life without challenges, but a mind capable of facing any challenge without losing itself. As Marcus Aurelius said, true strength is not in conquering others, but in conquering yourself. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these rules hit you the hardest? Which one do you know you need to start practicing today? Write your answer in the comments. I want to read it. And if you feel like this is just the beginning, you're right. Watch the other videos on this channel. Read Meditations, Letters to Lucilius, the Manual of Epictetus. And tomorrow when you wake up, open a notebook and write your first page like a true Stoic.